Hey, what's up? It's your boy Los LOS, and you are watching the Community Leaders Podcast. And today on the table, we have Keishjuan Owens. Check it out.
Hey everybody, this is Keishjuan Owens, leader of Lumberjack Pack, case manager in the community outreach, period, point blank in the West Side. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. So, not in order, don't mean to brag, don't mean to elaborate to the point where I talk off your ears, but in terms of art, I fashion design, and that comes with my own brand. That comes with collaborating with people and helping other people out with their own respective brands. In addition to modeling, I am a signed model. Shout out to my modeling agency. If you see me, I'll tell you who it is. In addition to that, I do music. I've had my own songs. I still do songs. I still produce. I don't say it out loud, but I definitely do help out people from here and there, just for the love of the game. In addition to that, I am an actor. I've had a few short films that came out this year. They went great. I think I look good. I think you should watch it. In addition to that, I do some public speaking, so I definitely feel that me from being from the west side of Chicago and seeing the things that I've seen and having the experiences that I have, I think it's imperative for me to use my voice, not just for Chicago and the west side, but for beyond. So with that being said, I also hold a lot of leadership positions in a lot of committees, both local, state, and international. Whether that's through Soho, whether that's through the one and only CLF, and I've done a lot of artistic fellowships. Shout out Creative Future Collectives. Shout out Soho House. So in addition to those things, I'm interacting with people that's in my age range. Not saying that I don't talk to people that's older than me. I love intergenerational communication, but I notice there's not a lot of people in my age range that's doing a lot of communication, standing together and understanding what's at stake for us. So I spend a lot of my time doing outreach, spend a lot of my time helping people get housing, helping people get job opportunities, and most importantly, steering people in the right direction. So I believe that I'm a bridge between the industry, as people would call it, and community. I just want to make sure people know that at the end of the day, we're all humans, and we just got an opportunity that others didn't. And the sooner we all realize that, and the sooner we realize how helpful it would be to be generous to give those opportunities, the better we all live in a beloved community, as I talk about, as I speak about. So what wanted me to, well, really, I love helping out the west side of Chicago because I love the west side. I've done my fair amount of research on Chicago. I've done my fair amount of research on my family, knowing that my family came here in 1951 from Mississippi. We got a lot of people who came here for the Great Migration, but the fact that my family is strictly from the west side since then, all even to this very moment that I'm talking to you, I think that it's pretty cool, and I take pride in that. So being able to do these things and understand where I come from and the origins of where I represent, and most importantly, where I strive to be, has been very helpful for me. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it at that. I've always lived on the west side of Chicago. There's been times where I stay with people on my respective sides of the city, whether that's south, whether that's the east, or whether that's the north. I've had my fair share of, I wouldn't say backpacking it, so to speak, but I have my peoples. I love my people. Sometimes I just want to kick it. So, but also I do want to understand the culture on the respective sides of the city. So sometimes I stay my time outside on respective sides. There were times where I stayed outside the city. I did go to boarding school. Everybody's like, oh, so you must have been bad. Nah, not at all. I went to this program called A Better Chance, and specifically this program was with Rochester, Minnesota. So I had the blessing of being in a public school over in Minnesota and Rochester, but also having mentors that were doctors and soon-to-be doctors at the Mayo Clinic. So I felt that I was spoiled with intelligence and pathways to success that I didn't know was possible when I lived in Chicago during my 13 and 14-year-old years. So with that being said, I've done my fair amount of traveling. When I did go to the middle schools that I went, shout out Kippasen. Shout out Kippasen. But during those times, I got my fair time in traveling, understand the culture, how I'm supposed to respond and interact with people, and just simply how I'm supposed to conduct myself as a young black man in those spaces. So as I got older, I got used to traveling by myself. I've yet to leave the country. I'm using that for a specific chance, specific opportunity. But for the most part, I've done traveling briefly, but I've always been on the West Side. I've always felt that my home was the West Side. I definitely feel like my impact would be respected and be welcomed on the West Side.
So, what schools have you gone to the West Side?
So the schools that I've gone to on the West Side for sure was Kippison. I've definitely went to Catalyst. All the schools that I went to on the West Side were predominantly middle schools and elementary schools. I know that the new center that's right off of Madison and Central, that was a school I went to, Till. I used to think it was called Emmett Till the whole time. That's out south. But the school that was formerly called Till, I forgot his first name, but shout out that center. Again, I went to Kippison, I went to Catalyst, and when I went to high school, I went to boarding school. So during that first year, I was out in a whole nother state, came back to Noble schools. During that time, the school that I was going to, they were up north in Lincoln Park, and over time, I just saw fit that it was time for me to go ahead and take my own path. So I withdrew myself from high school. Got my GED at 17, and I just been doing internships, fellowships, doing jobs that I would like to believe piqued my interest during that time, and staying passionate towards what I wanted to do, which was to be an artist, which to be an artist to be known from the West Side, which to be able to give a bridge from the industry to community from kids that were my age that was going through things. Because I noticed a lot of people who were very artistic and the people who were very creative didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have a lot of support. And during my journey, I also didn't have that. So I understood how imperative it was to have community and live in community. So I spent my time from 17 I'm 26, by the way. I spent my time from 17 to 26 just figuring out what it means to be community, what it means to live in community, and most importantly, what it means to lead in community. And I feel like that's been really helpful in how I determine how I do my art and how I'm respected and how I'm perceived in the art that I give to the community. Oh, man. You said who I was when I was 10 years old. That is a very, very good question. I felt that I was very much out of body. Reason being is because I had so much to do, so many places to be, and not in the form of like I had a lot of opportunities at my fingertips. It was just a lot of people, young and old, pulling me different ways. I would like to believe that at the age of 9, to be more exact, I kind of figure out where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do in this life, and what I wanted to be known as. And I felt that 10 years old was like my test dummy year, if you will. Just doing things that I wasn't used to do, doing things that I wasn't instructed to do, and I guess people call that being hard-headed. But I just wanted to know what it meant to be me, because the last time I checked, the only person that's named me is me. So I needed to know what it's like to eat, sleep, and breathe, and show myself respect and show myself the esteem that I was deserving of. So at the age of 10, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was everybody who I was around. I was very much an observer and an absorber. But I also knew when to filter out things that didn't apply to me and things that didn't feel good to me. So I felt that I was a question mark, if you will, at the age of 10. So at the age of 15, I felt that I very much knew who I wanted to be, but I didn't have the resources to capitalize on for what I knew I was going to be, if you catch my drift. So during that time that I was starting my Noble Academy, but most importantly, I felt alienated. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be here. I felt that I did something wrong. I felt that I wasn't going to be the best that I was going to be. So I didn't take that time out to be as productive as I was supposed to be. And getting older and understanding that I'm still reaping the benefits of me still being hard-headed, but I also know that I could have went farther if I would have just been more honest with myself, even though people wasn't being honest with me. at the age of 15. At the age of 15, I definitely wanted to make a name for myself, and whether that was through the music, through the art, or just through networking, or just through the opportunities that people gave me, I just definitely wanted people to know that I was helping loyal hand, but not in the sense of the traditional loyal helping hand, but in terms of innovation and abstract thinking to go farther than places that we were originally assigned to. I felt that by the time I was 15, I already had my fair share of being in boarding school. I was coming back to Chicago. I was traveling around in middle school during that time, so I felt that I, dare I say, was a little bit more cultured than people my age because I had a little bit more traveling experience. And mind you, I'm from the west side of Chicago. I'm from Austin. I'm from North Lawndale. So me being able to have the opportunity to go out there for the prolonged periods that I did, and then being able to go to see my peers and seeing how close they are to the city and all the experiences that our city shaped and defined them, and them being perceived as because of that, it kind of made me feel like I wasn't as connected as I thought I was. I thought it would be a good thing for me to be able to have my own separate experiences from my peers, but I felt that upon observing and seeing the things that they go through, it kind of disconnected us. So although I was trying to make a name for myself, I also felt that my name wasn't as similar as the people who grew up with me. So I kind of tussled with that for a little bit. So at the age of 18, that was a year after I got my GED. I originally went in for GED testing when I was 16, and they realized that I was too young, so they made me wait until I was 17. Once I got it, I was 17. I went straight into the job market, went straight into internships, started looking at fellowships. What I wanted to do at the age of 18 was relax, take a break from all the schooling and all the expectations. That's what I like to call it, the expectations that was put upon me in places and positions from people who I felt didn't give me a good precedent for me to understand how important it was for me to understand what they were telling me and how I should be responding to that and how well I should be doing. So during that time, me being able to be like, hey, I withdrew myself out of high school. I got my GED by myself, first try at 17. I feel like I'm doing the thing. I feel like I can do whatever I want. I don't have anything against my record. I feel like I can still move around, which I could. So I took that to my advantage. So during the time that I was 18, I just realized that I was old enough to move around. I was old enough to afford certain things because I still had the job. But most importantly, I was still young enough to understand that people still saw something in me that they could use in terms of bettering me. And I'll elaborate on that. There was a lot of people who understood that there were things that wasn't exactly stacked up in my favor, but there were things that I was willing to do and places that I was willing to be and people I was willing to represent that showed them that I was destined for more. And that I took to my advantage in a positive manner. I decided to exploit myself. I feel that people put negative connotations on the word exploit because of we live in a capitalist society, but if it's you, you don't have any problem with that because it's you gaining from that. So with that being said, I decided to spend my 18 all the way up to right now I'm 26 to exploit myself, and people say it's not good in terms of self-care. Overwork myself. I feel that if I wanted to get ahead, I wanted to be who I wanted to be, there was going to be a route that I had to walk down. And I call it the express lane. And the express lane to people traditionally feels like that's you getting right to where you want to be. But I feel like it's more work that needs to be done in a short amount of time. I guess people call that accelerated. It's the same thing to me. So I felt that would have been necessary for me to understand what I need to be doing, what I should be doing, what I have to be doing for me to get to the place that I expected myself to be at. And from 18, I understood that perfectly. Being a year out of high school, getting into the internships and fellowships that I was in, and being able to travel, but most importantly, being able to see how older adults saw me and saw how passionate I was to making what I wanted to happen. And that was my introduction into networking and understand that it's not what you know is who you know, then what you know. And I learned that all by myself just by simply doing it. I didn't even know that existed, that quote, until I actually started going out into these events, getting invited to these events, and being encouraged to talk at these events. And that's what really started putting me on my course. when I started doing activist work and doing public speaking in terms of when Donald Trump first got into office, we started speaking out about the ICE protest, about that. Then definitely talked about that, definitely spoke out about that. That was when I started getting my introduction into what it means to advocate for the community, and I felt that from 18 and on, my bigger purpose at that time was advocating for people who clearly didn't have a voice and who wanted that voice and who wasn't, whether society deemed it so or not, get that voice. And I felt that it was imperative for me to make sure that that happened. I got opportunities that people didn't, and I wanted to make sure I cashed in on that, even if the benefit of me cashing in on that doesn't directly benefit me. So 18 was a really revolutionary year for me. Man, 22 years old, I was a lover boy. I was definitely worried about what it meant to be a young adult, what it meant to be an advocate, and what it meant to be somebody who's in community, whether that was platonically or romantically, and whether that was in family matters. I felt that it was imperative for me at 22 to be everything that I wasn't taught to be, and to not let the traumas and the shortcomings that was bestowed upon me make me the man that I was supposed to be. So that was a rejection and an acceptance period. And I feel that during that time, everything was very hard to come by, but everything got earned tooth and nail. But as I got older and the things that I earned during my age of 22 is no longer here with me, I realized that not everything lasts forever. And that's not to be depressing. That's not to be sad or all that. That, to me, is saying that I've utilized what was given to me so well that it's time for more. And because I know how quality I am with things, how much I take care of the things that's given to me, I know that the next person that's going to have it after me is going to have a better experience than I do. So I always have to think in abundance. I think that's one thing that I really took away from 22. It's thinking in abundance, being an influence, but most importantly, being a community. Shout out urban design, shout out territory, because that's definitely what really brought it to my attention, how I can still be an artist without having to be always in people's faces and talking. I don't know if it's obvious by the camera. I don't know if it's obvious by anything, obviously, but I'm a little bit of an introvert. I'm a little quiet person. I may be shy, but I'm definitely vocal. I'm definitely assertive, you know. So going out in the community was really hard for me, but also doing the door knocking for political campaigning and lobbying for certain policies to pass got me in that mode to understand that it's bigger than my shyness. 22 really got me to realize that it's bigger than me. And the best I can do for the situation is to be the best that I can be, and that's enough. And every day you can strive to be better, but what you can do to the best of your ability is still gonna always be enough. I think who I am today is who I always wanted to be. I am Captain Wude of Lumberjack Pack. I am Keishjuan Owens of the West Side. Most importantly, I am a son. I am a cousin. I am a brother. I am a middle child. I am an artist. I am an eating artist. But most importantly, I am your neighbor, and I am your neighbor who's happy to see you. And I think that all the adjectives that I just listed, they're adverbs, verbs, whatever you want to call your figures of speech or whatever. At the end of the day, I'm here for you. I strive to be here to last. And I desire to create systems that represent me and my passion and love for the community in different, unique ways. And I encourage people to understand what it means to live in community and what it means to have a quality of life in the communities that they grew up in. You don't have to move out of the spaces that you need or the spaces that you're used to make a difference. Even if you feel that is that case, you can do that temporarily and come back, because at the end of the day, what brings a person together is being wanted and being needed. So to put it in short, who I am today, I am who I always wanted to be. The only thing I am not right now is who I know I'm supposed to be. And that might not make sense on camera, but as time goes by, this is going to make perfect sense. The experiences that I had with CLF, man, first and foremost, I love my cohort. I love my cohort. Everybody has their own walk of life. Everybody has their own unique place where they fit in the community. Everybody has something that I can learn from, but most importantly, everybody is their own person, and that's something that you don't see as often. I think that in addition to them also having their responsibilities that I couldn't fathom because I've yet to step in their shoes or in their responsibility type of part of my life, it's also life-changing to see how they, to me, seemingly have more on their plate, but they're still able to do just as, if not more than I can, and that's what motivates me to do more. Quite frankly, CLF has made me grateful to be there, be in the moment, and stop thinking in the future in the hopes that it'll save my present to erase the past. CLF has done a number in terms of my imagination and being able to be in the moment with that. Because I feel like when people imagine things and people start to daydream, they start to think about things that aren't possible, things that aren't tangible. And they manage to make that something that isn't the case. Everything that I've talked about, everything that I want to do, everything that we talked about here, is something that I feel once I leave her I can do physically with my own hands or with the community that I have, and that's something that I haven't felt before. I feel connected. I feel connected.
What do you want for the west side of Chicago that is missing?
I want, it sounds cliche, everybody's going to say it, but I want more funding for more niche things. I feel like when the hierarchy of needs is covered, there's a lot of things that need to be discussed, and I feel that when we already have the means to set out for the hierarchy of needs to lowest at that, to make sure everybody's clothed, fed, housed, got the mental and physical resources they need in terms of being better, I feel like we need to start focusing towards innovation. We need to start focusing on how to interact with our neighbor. And most importantly, we need to figure out how to be self-sufficient. So I feel that with more access to resources, it would breed self-sufficiency because, truth be told, nobody wants to depend on somebody else if they know they can do it with themselves or with their own two hands. And as an artist, I always felt that I made a difference when I did it with my own two hands and feet and mouth. And I feel there's a lot of people who don't have the opportunity that I have today to say that want that. And I feel like it's in my best interest to make sure that not only I, but they also have that. Whatever that looks like for them, I just want to make sure people feel heard in whatever avenue they're willing to walk down. The superpower I would choose, this may sound wild, I simply just want teleportation. I feel that teleportation is a cliche thing, but I feel like, actually, I'm going to take that back. I want adaptability. Not many people know that's a superpower, like an actual superpower. I want evolutionary adaptation, so I can be able to evolve on a whim's notice, and whether that's mental, physical, situational, economical, I want to be able to embody what it means to adapt to the situation so you can always overcome the adversaries and always make sure that you rise above the occasion. I feel like being able to be a physical embodiment of not giving up would motivate people to chase their passions past the reward system. I feel like being fulfilled is more important than being rewarded and acknowledged, because at the end of the day, nobody can give that but you. So being able to adapt to the situation would always make sure that my self-confidence, and if you have that superpower, your self-confidence will always stay intact. I think the quote that everybody needs to hear from me is to rewrite what it means to be an individual, and to make sure that you own that, because at the end of the day, I am not you and you are not me. And the last time I was told, people are usually named after energies and the embodiment that they will with the energy. So you do with the information as you will. I feel that all words have power, and I feel that you were named what you were named. And you may not agree with what you were named by, but I know the difference that you make with your own decisions with that title is more important. So life is up for yours to take, but you can only take so much when it's just you. Team beats individual. Don't be afraid to help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That was a long quote, but I really need you guys to understand this. You can only go so far. You can look cool as you want, but you can only go so far. Oh, man, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I love the studio. I didn't know y'all was out here like this, man.